All right, welcome, my friend, to the next episode, Red Delta Project podcast here, Red Delta Project YouTube channel, live feed Q&A. Always Matt Schifferly, founder of the Red Delta Project, as well as the author of the books that sponsor these episodes, Grind Style Calisthenics, Smart Bodyweight Training, and Bodyweight Training for Martial Arts, and so on. And today we are talking about one of the most important lessons in basically what makes a workout effective. In the last episode, I talked about how we're getting to the fundamentals of fitness. That's what Red Delta Project's all about, is getting right down to the essentials of what are the most fundamental principles and rules that we need to follow when it comes to diet, when it comes to fitness, when it comes to working out, in order to get the results that you want. And this is kind of literally like where the magic happens as far as results go. As my chemistry teacher once told me, he's like, Matt, nothing ever happens until it happens at the cellular level, like of an organism. Well, it's the same thing in fitness, especially, where nothing happens until you make changes at the fundamental level. You can make changes any which way from here till Tuesday on a more superficial level, and almost nothing will really happen. This is one of the reasons why a lot of times when people say, oh, I've tried everything and nothing ever seems to work. I've tried every diet and every workout program, and they've got hit or miss results maybe, but fundamentally nothing's changing. Their attitude to food, the way they're using their body, their approach to exercise, their approach to fitness, if it stays the same, your results will stay the same, even if you go with a million different diet strategies or change your diet 101 different ways. If the bedrock principles are still the same, you're still going to end up with roughly the same results. So what we're talking about today is what are the fundamental principles that we need to observe for an effective workout. And also, just real quick before I forget too, also down below, if you're listening to this, because I post the audio of this podcast a couple days after the live stream here, all of the questions that we have later on in the Q&A are down below in timestamps. So if you want to skip ahead to the Q&As, you could see that, or see what the questions are and skip ahead to those as well. All right, so the fundamental principles. So a lot of the rhetoric in our fitness culture gets to superficial stuff, the stuff that's actually honestly not that important. I got this quote here from a strength coach friend of mine who I used to work with over at the Colorado Athletic Club, Mr. Scott Beal. He put this up, it's so dead on. He says, most information is irrelevant and most effort is wasted. Only the expert knows what to ignore. And I love that quote because oftentimes we think of the expert as the person who has a lot of information and they do a lot of different things and they've got a million different tools in their toolbox. But the more proficient you become at something, the less stuff you need, the less lessons, the less type of things that you go around. It's like in a lot of disciplines where the more expert people tend to have less. They tend to have less tools, less different techniques that they use and stuff. And that's certainly the case here because a lot of times we get lost in the weeds of the superficial stuff that's not the fundamental. And that's what we're talking about today. Is it's to a large degree not about the stuff you hear about out there. It's not about the sets and reps. It's not about what grip should I be using on my pull-up bar. It's not about should I do cardio first or strength training first. Most of the information out there, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's useless, but it's not that big a deal to really make much of an impact. You know, everything has an influence to some degree, but the fundamental stuff is where you're going to get the most influence. The superficial stuff is kind of like a freight train barreling down on you, and you're like, I got to stop this freight train. And you're throwing like little pebbles at the train. Like it's hardly doing anything. So this is the stuff that we're getting to that has the biggest influence in making something happen. And first fundamental principles is recognizing that when we are training, we're not actually making anything happen that isn't already happening. And this just goes for fitness in general. When we practice workouts and diet strategies and stuff, you're not making anything happen. You're not changing a thing. Like, oh, I'm going to start working out. Yeah, great, wonderful. But nothing is happening when you do that. That isn't already happening. Because the reason why exercise works is because it takes advantage of the fundamental physiological processes that are already in place as per Mother Nature, right? We already have protein synthesis going on. We always have neurological adaptation. Our body is always learning how to perform in a higher and more efficient manner, right? We're always building muscle. We're always in catabolism as well, where we're breaking things down. We're always burning fat. We're always storing fat. Everything that we're trying to make happen during a workout is already happening. The difference is when we do an exercise, we're taking these physiological processes and we are directing them. We're not letting them just go wherever, willy-nilly. We're directing the process so that we can make sure it's heading or bringing us into a direction we want to go in. And therein lies the magic of training. So that's the first thing, is recognizing you don't need to make anything happen. It's already happening. But we want to make sure we're directing things. So then, of course, the second idea is, well, how do we do that? Well, fundamentally, all training is about the generation of muscle tension. It's about your brain engaging your muscles and telling them to contract. That's what all training is, regardless of your objective, regardless of what your type is. I don't care if you're trying to be a ballerina dancer, kick a field goal, build muscle, burn fat, whatever you're trying to do. Everything boils down to fundamentally the fact that your brain is sending signals to your muscles, telling them to contract. That's it. Like I said, this is already happening. Your brain is already telling your muscles to contract. I'm moving my hands here as I'm talking to you. This is already happening. Or when you get up and walk around or open up a beer or get out of your car, you're sending those signals to your muscles. So this process is always happening. But when we train, we use concentration to modify the process into a very specific direction. So instead of just getting up out of a chair, you're saying, okay, I'm getting out of a squat and I'm concentrating on making my muscles work harder, or I'm trying to get out of the squat fast enough so I jump up with explosive power, or whatever the case may be. That's the only difference. The only difference between regular good old-fashioned movement and training your body to change is your concentration. It's not about the tools. It's not about the weight. It's not about the program. It's not about the sets and the reps and all that sort of thing. That's the superficial stuff. It's your concentration. It's your brain telling your muscles, I know you're usually going on autopilot, but now I need you to be able to perform in a certain way that we want to achieve a stimulus for. And that's the third lesson. Is what is a workout ultimately trying to achieve is a stimulus for change. This is a preview of my new upcoming book, Micro Workouts. I talk about this in the new book on basically the reason why micro workouts work is because they do the exact same thing as any other workout. There's no difference at all. The reason why they work is because we're using our concentration to take advantage of that natural physiological process in order to create a stimulus for change. It's only a stimulus, though. You don't create any change in your workout. Nothing happens in your workout. But when you are concentrating on using your body to a certain level of performance in a certain way, you are literally telling your body, I need you to step up and be able to do whatever it is. Whatever I need you to do, right? Now, if we need to get up out of our car or open up that beer or whatever, there's not a whole lot of stimulus to go above and beyond what we already have. Because basically you're saying, be able to get out of the car or open the beer or whatever. It's like, yeah, I got this. I'm good, right? So you're maintaining that ability to do so. You are still creating a stimulus. It's just the stimulus is saying, stay where you're at. But of course, in the world of fitness, we don't want to stay where we're at. We want to get bigger and stronger and more capable. So that stimulus needs to be progressive. And how we create that progressive stimulus depends on what you're focusing on, depends on where your concentration lies. And that's what am I up to? 4? The fourth principle of an effective workout. Okay, when we create tension in our muscle, we can create it for any number of reasons, right? And this is where oftentimes we get lost in the weeds. Like, how many sets should I do? Was a wider, push-up or narrower push-up, or where should my hands be? And all these little superficial details and stuff like that get us distracted and paralysis by analysis and stuff. But fundamentally, there's only 3 things you can do in a workout. There's only 3, areas you can concentrate your muscle tension. Every single workout focuses on one of these 3 areas for everybody. Right? The first application of muscle tension is a specific aspect of functional performance. So this is any type of workout that you're doing where you are concentrating on using tension in order to perform at a higher level functionally. And this is a broad topic. This covers like 90% of every reason why you would train. It could be hitting the golf ball straighter off the tee, getting into a deeper squat, lifting more in a deadlift, having better hip engagement during a kettlebell swing, using your arms during a sprint, whatever it is, any type of concentration where your mind is saying, I need to be able to do better. And there is the key operative word, do. You're trying to perform at a higher level. That's a functional stimulus, and it's specific to whatever you're doing. So I can't give you exactly what that is because I don't know what you're trying to do. I don't know what you need to work on. It could be very different. You could be saying, I want to be able to do push-ups better. Okay, so you want to improve your technique? Do you want to be able to do them faster? Do you want to be able to do them longer? Do you need what aspect of functional ability are we trying to focus on? And that's where we want to really be dialed in to every set you're doing, you're concentrating on trying to do it better in this exact specific way. You've got to be very precise about it. You don't want to just do work and assume your body's just magically going to somehow know what you're asking of it, right? It's just guesswork at that point. That's why we want to have very precise concentration on what we're trying to do. As a coach, that's oftentimes what my job is I tell people exactly what they're trying to do in their performance when they're doing an exercise. Keep that heel down. Don't let yourself roll out to the side. Keep your shoulders back, whatever it is, right? So that's the first application of muscle tension. Second application of muscle tension is much more simple than that. It's time under tension. And this is usually for those who are interested in building muscle, because fundamentally your muscle fibers, when we're doing a performance thing, we're using our muscles in any millions of different ways, right? But fundamentally that muscle fiber cell is very simple. It contracts or it relaxes. And then the only other variable it has there is time. So fundamentally our muscles are really simple. There's got an origin and an insertion point, and they come together and when your muscles contract, and then when you relax, they can be pulled apart or they stay exactly where they are, right? Depending on the situation. So when we are looking at, I want to work my muscles, make them bigger, make them stronger, that sort of thing, you've only got two variables, time and tension. How hard is the muscle working? How long is it working for? So that makes things a lot simple as far as not needing to worry too much about the details. Like how many sets, how many reps should I do this workout? What about free weights versus machines? Like 90% of the stuff out there are people like this versus that. Doesn't really matter very much. As long as the muscle's working, and as long as it's working for a given amount of time, which of course naturally it is, it's good. That's it. And the only two variables you have to concern yourself with is how hard is it working and how long is it working for? If you want to get bigger and stronger, longer and harder. That's it. That's strength training 101. And then lastly, the other principle is just increasing caloric expenditure. For those who are out there saying like, I want to burn fat. Well, again, the process is already in motion. You're already burning fat. You're already burning calories. You don't need to do a damn thing. But when you are physically active, you're increasing the rate of speed at which you are burning those calories. So when you start being physically active, you're stepping your foot on the gas and going a little faster, and you're ramping up that caloric expenditure. And this is even simpler. Like do anything. I don't care what you do. Like there's no such thing as a fat burning exercise. I talk about this in my next book. There's no such thing as a fat burning exercise because you don't need it. A fat burning exercise is not something you actually ultimately want, because that would suck if you only burned fat in one specific way, doing one specific form of activity. But you do it with anything. So anything you do increases your caloric expenditure. But the three variables you have for that is the more muscle you use, the harder you go, the more intensity, and the longer you go, the more you burn. That's it. Those are the only three variables you have at your disposal when it comes to burning more fat and calories. Are you moving a good amount of muscle, which usually full body exercises and a lot of cardio exercises take a big advantage of the legs and stuff, because it's just the more muscle you use, the more metabolic demand you have. How hard are you going and how long are you going for? And that's it. Those are the only variables we got. Now, that doesn't mean the other stuff doesn't matter, like sets and reps and should I do elliptical versus treadmill and stuff like that. But the way you want to think about those more superficial ideas is you order, arrange, adopt, and discard all those little details depending on whatever works best for you to satisfy those fundamental principles. All right. So this is where you can answer your own questions. Should I do cardio first or strength training first? 9 times out of 10, doesn't matter at all. But if you do cardio first and then you go and hit the workout, the strength workout, and you're like, man, I just cannot concentrate. I'm too tired. My muscles don't work very well. I just can't push myself very hard. There's your answer. But it could be the complete opposite. You could be like, I did, 40 minutes or so on the exercise bike. I did a spin class or even 10 minutes on the rowing machine. And somehow that got my gears moving to the point where I went and I just destroyed that pull-up workout. There's your answer there too. It's something of trial and error to learn what kind of works best for you. But I basically just took like all of the noise in the internet and boiled it down to those key concepts and principles when it comes to working out. All of the other details depends on how it influences those things for you. Is your ability to perform or create tension in your muscles for specifically engaging them to perform better at whatever task you're trying to get better at performing, increasing the amount of tension in the muscle or time or both, and just burning fat. And you can do that however the hell you want. It's just the longer you go, the harder you go, and the more muscle you engage, that's going to increase it and stuff. But that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be optimized. Like I got to go 100% for like hours on end. It's like, no, you go out for a long walk. Like, yeah, it's not max intensity, but I've gone for walks that have been 3-4 hours when I'm hiking and stuff. And that can burn quite a few calories. But right there, that's like 99% of everything you're going to really need to understand about good workouts, about making that work. Now, I know that doesn't give you necessarily specifics, but that's because it's impossible for me to give you specifics on what you exactly need because everybody's different. But fundamentally, we're all the same. We all burn fat, build muscle, and improve our golf swing for the same exact reasons. Training for everybody is exactly the same. Our brain tells our muscles how to perform, and through concentration, we modify that signal, and then we improve how we can do that, and we level up progressively through that. So there's a lot more nuance. Yes, there's a lot more details, but as long as we keep those principles as our compass needle, we'll always be going in the right direction. And if we start making decisions that take us away from true north, we know that's not quite right for us or you. And it's like, I don't care if some expert or some scientific research say this is the best way to structure strength workouts or whatever. If it's compromising your time under tension or your ability to do the exercise or whatever, it's not in your best interest. It's taking you away from it. So you go in the other direction. So basically that's it. Fundamentals of an effective workout, my friends. It's something that's, quick to learn, but takes years to really understand and really master and get down. It's kind of like martial arts. There's that saying of before I started the martial arts, a punch was just a punch and a kick was just a kick. Really simple and basic. But then I started learning the martial arts, and a punch was no longer a punch and a kick was no longer a kick. It got really complicated. But after years of work and understanding things, now a punch is just a punch and a kick is just a kick. And that's kind of literally what fundamental approaches to fitness bring you to, is you get to a point where you're like, yeah, just do push-ups, just do this, just get on the bike and ride a bit. I want to burn fat. Yeah, just get out and move. How should I do it? I don't care, however you want, kind of thing. And I know a lot of people are like, it's not that simple. They're still in the beginner stages kind of thing. Because once you get more beyond it, and it's like, oh, it really is kind of that simple. We don't need to overthink these sorts of things and really get to a more fundamental place of simplicity. All right, I'm done talking. I want to answer some of your questions here on Red Delta Project Live Q&A. As always, hey, Matt will direct my attention to the questions that you have so I know that I address it. Otherwise, I know you're all speaking amongst yourselves. Al Painter, hey, Al, good to have you on. Let's see what you got for me today. Starts off, first time caller, long time listener. This is not the first time caller. You call every single time, man. It's fantastic. What do you think about adding in hill runs as part of a super combo set on push, pull, squat days? Scatters the workout, focuses or mixes it in as well. This is a very good question now, because I like how you phrased it on where's the focus. Like, because you can always add stuff in. It's easy to add. It's easy to add exercises and add sets and add reps and stuff. But the reason why the micro workout approach works isn't because we're whittling it down to almost nothing. It's because we're getting focused on the stuff that's most important. So That's the question then to turn it around to you. So hill sprints, what are we training? Well, from the specific adaptation standpoint, right, from that fundamental point, we're training ourselves to have the qualities of being able to run up a hill. Power, explosiveness, leg strength, and we're training the muscles to be able to do that. So functionally, why is that important to you? Are you an athlete? Are you doing it because you like to be powerful and athletic and you like to be able to run fast? Our time under tension, it's pretty good. There's a lot of tension in a hill sprint. A lot of tension is because you're going all out, but it's alternating. So it's not quite the same as like regular grind out strength work. And fat burning, yeah, sure, of course you're going to burn fat. You have intensity, but you're probably not going to do it for hours and hours on end. So the calorie burn is going to be there, but it's not going to be like huge. So the more important question is, why are you doing it? Because anything that you add into your workouts has to earn its keep. Every set, every rep, every exercise is like an employee in a business. It's like I'm bringing you on and I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to pay you time. I'm going to pay you energy and effort, but you'd better produce. You'd better be able to be worth it. And if it's not, you get fired. So why are you starting to bring on a new employee? Why are you employing a new exercise? What's it worth to you? So if the answer is you've got answers to that, then it's like, yeah, it probably won't water down the workout. It's probably going to bring more value to the workout that's valuable to you. I personally would do it before your squat workout, just so that you're doing it with relatively fresh legs. I mean, there's pros and cons to either. You could do it before your strength workout and have fresh legs for that, but then it might compromise strength. Or you could do your strength workout first and then you do it, but you won't have as much power and explosiveness. Try it both ways, see which one. And again, it boils down to, well, what are you doing the sprints for? If you're kind of doing it as a finish for the legs, do it after. If you're doing it because you want explosive power, it's usually better to do it first. But again, the answer is something only you can answer for yourself. Where's the value to you personally? And is it worth it? Blake Allen, next question. Hey, Matt, what are the top 3 exercises to build a strong lower back with body weight only? Fantastic question there, Blake. As I've discussed before in videos, I'm not at all a fan of strengthening the lower back. It's not that strong lower back is not important or anything. It's the phrasing, it's the verbiage and stuff like that. Because anatomically, your lower back is more like a joint. It's not really a muscle group. There's not really muscle in your lower back, so to speak, specific lower back muscles. You have the quadratus lumborum, which is relatively small, and it doesn't really provide that much of a bulk of your movement and support. And because of its size, no matter how strong you get it, it'll never be strong enough, okay? Usually when people talk about a weak lower back, what they're actually talking about is tension building in the back, and it's getting overloaded. Like joints get overloaded, like your knees, your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists can get overloaded very quickly because they don't have a lot of muscle in them. And the knee-jerk reaction is, oh, it must be weak, I need to strengthen it. But the fact is, there's not enough there to really strengthen. You could have it 1,000,000 times stronger, it's still going to be weak. The answer for that is we have weak lower backs because all the muscles above and below the back are weak. Lats, traps, glutes, and hamstrings specifically. A lot of times it's glutes and hamstrings, but sometimes it is upper back muscles. Now, of course, yes, you do have your spinal erectors, your erector spinae, your multifidus, and you have, of course, your iliocostalis, and your iliocostalis is a little bit beefier in the lower back region. So a lot of times people refer to that as a lower back muscle, but it does span the entire length of your spine. So when we are working out to, quote, strengthen our lower back, we want to use everything along our entire backside. And that's super important to recognize, because when we oftentimes think of, I've got to strengthen my lower back, we turn off those other muscles. And as a result, make the problem even worse. I remember one time I was on a GHD, glute ham developer. I was like, oh, I feel this so much in my glutes and my hamstrings. I must be doing something wrong. How do I turn off my glutes and hamstrings so I feel it in my lower back? And lo and behold, yeah, I was able to tone down the engagement in my glutes and hamstrings. And as a result, I strained my lower back because my glutes and hamstrings weren't working. So the solution here is don't strengthen the lower back, strengthen everything along the entire extension or posterior chain. Best exercises for that, I know run around, but it's very important you understand why you're doing these, is glute ham developer. If you are in a facility or a gym that has one of those where you can lock your legs in and develop and lift like so. Hip thrusts in all bridge work. If you go to the playlists on my channel and go to like glutes, hamstrings, check out some of the micro workouts that I have on the YouTube channel I put up. I think even yesterday I did a great one on hamstring and glute development. Very simple, doesn't need any equipment at all. Crab walks and table bridges, but it's a modified table bridge to really focus on both ends of the hamstring motion. It's both knee flexion and hip extension, very complete hamstring exercise. So bridge work, and that's very broad. Table bridges, hip bridges, that sort of thing. And rows. Especially rows. And the reason why I'm saying rows is because when we do rows, Australian style pull-ups and stuff, if we focus on really packing our shoulders down and back, what that does is it teaches you to get all of the focus in your upper body going down your spine, into your hips, down your hamstrings, calves, and out through your heels. So that teaches everything to flow along, and which means the stress that you may be feeling in your lower back isn't going into your back, it's going through it. Because joints, like your lower back, can handle a ton of stress as long as it's going through it. So hip thrusts, table bridge style exercises, and recline rows. Long answer, I know, but that's one of those things that, man, I really, really wish I knew that back in the day, because I used to have atrocious hip and back issues for years, and it compromised everything because I thought I need to strengthen my lower back. And no, you need to get your butt in gear. You need to get your hamstrings stronger. Fantastic questions. Next question from Cam Stewart. Matt, what are your thoughts on integrating jump rope? Jump rope's fantastic. I love the jump rope. Timing, power, explosiveness, complete engagement of the squat chain, keeping your hips engaged. I mean, you get so much from such a simple piece of equipment that doesn't really require a lot of time and space, and it's portable, and you can do it in a very short period of time, which means it's great for warming up. It's great for circuit work. So you can do like a couple of strength exercises, do a minute or two of skipping rope and stuff. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. And I know a lot of people shy away from skipping rope because they don't feel proficient with it. They feel awkward with it. And as a result, they're like, I don't have the coordination. It's not very good. But the great thing about jumping rope is it works no matter how good or bad you are at it. Just trying to jump rope will still make it effective. It's not like if you don't do it very well, it's not effective. And on that line, there's like, according to Ido Portal, you got your 3 levels of proficiency. Level 1 is you can barely do the activity. Level 2 is you can do it, but you can't do it too well. Number 3 is you can do it, you can do it really well, and you're comfortable with it. And we all love level 3 because we love to feel like we're a master of our own fate and everything. But the problem is there's very little stimulus to change at level 3. So that's how some people, they can do the same workout for years on end, and they're working as hard as they can, and they get absolutely nowhere. They're no different because they still stuck at level 3. But we want to go and do things at level 1 and level 2. So with jumping rope, if you're struggling with it, great, awesome, wonderful. It's doing more for you now than anything else. But if you get to the point where you're like, oh, I could do this for 5 minutes, it's no big deal. Now it's time to say, all right, let's explore some more advanced movements, crossovers, double unders, some new things to get you outside that comfort zone and really stimulate that mind to say, whoa, I got to really concentrate on what I'm doing. Because that's what the whole gradient is all about. 1, 2, and 3 is how much concentration do you need to do the exercise. The more concentration you need, the more effective the exercise will be. Jump rope or otherwise. Fantastic question. Next question here. Jeff Mason. Matt, any tips on wrist hurting when doing handstands? No problems when doing pike presses. Yes, there's a difference there. So your job is now, what's the difference? What's going on that's making it different? So I would say handstands, maybe there's a potential, I'm guessing, that you're doing them with your back to the wall. So as a result, you are falling a little bit more towards your fingertips when you're doing it. So bring your fingers a little closer to the wall if that's the case. When you're doing pike push-ups, you typically have your hands in front of you, so the angle at your wrist isn't nearly as big. So when you're doing the regular handstands, you're requiring more flexion in the wrist, extension in the wrist. So the classic exercise I always give everybody for a strong, and this is in my book, Overcoming Isometrics, is you take your hand on a daily basis, you close it into a fist, and you curl like so. Everything here is working. Everything on my extensors is stretching. Then you go the opposite. Hand fully splayed apart, and you're pulling. So I'm stretching now my flexors, and I'm working my extensors. So that builds very, very strong wrists. Last couple of things is make sure your forearms, your arms are tight, so that way you're allowing the tension to go through your wrists. Again, just like I was saying with the lower back, stress on the wrist means the tension is going into the wrist rather than through it. So tense up those hands, claw the floor. Also improves your stability. And also make sure your shoulders are packed. Make sure your shoulders are retracted. Make sure your back and your chest and your core and everything else is working, because oftentimes the muscles that should be handling that stress is your upper torso and your shoulders, your delts, your triceps and stuff. And instead it's going right into your wrists. Give those a shot. See if that works very well. Next question here, Joseph. Hey, Matt, I'm loving the micro workouts. Fantastic. Everybody should be checking those out. I got, what is today? Today is the 16th. So we've got 9 more to go. And then I've got a special treat for you on the 25th coming out. But anyway, loving the micro workouts. I've done a few, felt sore in muscles I haven't felt sore in ages. Yes, but always remember, my friends, that soreness in a muscle is a sign of a novel stimulus. It's not necessarily a sign of an effective stimulus. So it's good. Soreness, it's like, oh, okay, I feel a little sore, especially in muscles that you may have trouble working. This past evening, I was working with a gentleman, and we're working on his glutes, trying to get the glutes to engage. He's like, I feel a little bit more in my upper glutes that's a little sore. It's like, good, that probably means they're working, they're waking up, and they're able to work more effectively. That's a fantastic thing. But I know a lot of times we get lost in this idea of like, I need to be sore in order for the workout to be effective. That's not at all the case. You can be sore and not necessarily have accomplished much of anything in your workouts other than giving your muscles something new to work with. Or you could be not sore at all and still keep moving forward in progression. So enjoy the soreness while it lasts. That's a good thing, but it's not at all necessary. I just wanted to make sure that it's something that is there. Interesting. Entirely honest. Yo, I just bought my Bodyweight Master thanks to your review and videos. Is it available? Oh my goodness. Is it actually available? Everybody, check out, I got the link. I think it's down below in the description. I'll put it down if not, but the Bodyweight Master, that's the freestanding pull-up unit from Dragon Door that it's like never available. It's never in production. And now I'm excited if it is, because I don't think they've had that available for 2 years. So congratulations on picking that up. Best freestanding pull-up unit by far. I love that thing. Fantastic. And to those who have one, you're one of the lucky few who've been able to get it. All right. New questions here. New questions. Keep them coming on. King Royal. Hey, Matt, does nucleus overload still work after doing push-ups when I'm sore? As far as I know, the science on nucleus overload is that it's still, the jury's still out on it, if it's even worth considering. It might be one of those things that's like a 1%, like after you've exhausted 99% of your potential, gives you that last little 1%. But the research and stuff that I keep coming across is that it's not big enough of a deal for most people to even really have to consider it to a large degree. But anyway, more to a more fundamental question here. So doing push-ups, even when you're sore. So when you're sore, what's going on with the soreness is you have some inflammation. It's just like as if you just got punched, right? And you get some swelling and stuff like that. You have damage to the muscles. Now, back to the questions that I was talking about earlier, fundamentally, right? Should you be working out when sore? Are the workouts going to be effective when sore? That's kind of a more fundamental, broad approach here. And for that, we have to get more to the fundamental question of what is the purpose of our workout, right? Never do a workout without a purpose. Don't do it just to work. Don't do it just to be like, I just feel like exercising or whatever. I mean, it feels good. That's fine. I guess that's a purpose. But why are you doing the push-ups when you're sore is a more important question. And When we're working out, we want to be sure we're creating a stimulus. Are you able to tell your muscles to do the push-ups better? Are you able to create more tension for time? Well, most of the time when it comes to being sore, those abilities are compromised. So your ability to create a stimulus is potentially compromised. Usually, depends on the level of soreness, right? So if your ability to create that stimulus is compromised, the ability for that extra push-up workout to be effective is compromised because of the soreness. Now, I'm a big fan of using movement as medicine. So getting some light reps in, getting the blood flowing, breaking up some of that inflammation. Yeah, that's a great way. You could be like, I'm going to do a bunch of incline push-ups to break up this inflammation. That's the stimulus I'm going for, increasing blood flow to the muscles. That's the purpose of the workout. Great, wonderful. But as far as the typical workout purpose of build muscle, build strength and stuff, typically that's pretty much compromised, and it's not worth the extra effort when we are sore. So a little bit, I know I went around the question there a little bit more, but getting more to a fundamental thing that I think is going to have a little bit more purpose behind what is going on there. Al Painter back in the house here. Next question. Hey, Matt, how about carrying a sandbag up the hill instead at a slower pace or loaded carry day? Very good. Biggest reason is because I'm riding less. Good. And I need more nature time. Yeah, this is really good. Getting outside is very good purpose there, Al. I would go with just a mix. When it comes to working out, having a variety of stimuli is good. So in your case, you're talking about hill sprints. Some of them are going to be really fast and explosive. Some of them are going to be loaded. So you're really grinding up that hill and everything. All that is fantastic. Do both. You're going to be better off with both rather than one or the other. Beware of these ideas when that say like, this is the one best way and only do it this one way. I don't care how optimal that one way is. Variety or a variation of stimuli almost always produces a better result. Singularity and purity usually is weakness. You see this all the time in nature. Environments and stuff that are very pure are a weaker environment, more susceptible to disease, more susceptible to extinctions, less variety of plant and fauna and stuff like that. So variety is strength, and too much, quote, purity is actually weakness. So have more variety and do both for sure. Excuse me. FC Pranks. Good question here. Is push-ups, pull-ups, squats enough for a full body effective workout for a skinny guy to get muscular and impressive physique? Of course, that's basically what I recommend for everybody. Like everybody's a skinny guy trying to build muscle and physique. We're all the same on that fundamental level. And push, pull, squat are the most effective fundamental movement patterns for building muscle. Full stop. Like that's what we should focus. If you're interested in building muscle, push, pull, and squat of a compound nature should be where most of your attention is going for anyone, any genetic, any build, any sort of objective. It's like, I just want to get bigger and stronger. Generally, push, pull, and squat is where you want to go. Now, of course, your workout routine isn't that important. Like, well, what about this routine? And I do these kinds of squats. I don't care. It's how well can you do those exercises to make the muscles work progressively harder. Because your muscles don't know what an exercise is. They don't even know what a workout routine is. They don't really care like, oh, did you do squats first or push-ups first or whatever. It's just down to how hard are you working the muscle and how effectively are you able to do that. And that's where we want our mindset to be, not on the nuances of the variables in the workout. It's like, how hard are you able to work those muscles? You get that better, you're going to start building muscle, or at least creating the stimulus to build muscle. There's a lot more to build muscle. In the grand scope of things, the workout you do plays about that much of a role in building muscle. It's a very, 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 very small piece of the muscle building process. Genetics, hormones, lifestyle, diet, attitude, energy, all these other things, they play a much bigger role in your ability to build muscle. You still need the exercise, but that's just the match that starts the fire. The rest of it is what is also important. So don't neglect that as well. I'm getting off topic here. Get to the next question. Matt, stop talking. Casey Blonde, hey Matt, my goal is one damn pull-up. Hey, I hear that. Doing convict conditioning. I'm only on the 3rd level. Jackknife. Hey, what are you talking about? Only on the 3rd level. Jackknives are hard, man. When I tried to do one normal, I got nothing. Ugh, shouldn't I be getting some more improvement in a regular push-up? Push up or pull up? What are we going after here? But yes, here's the thing: is always keep in mind that your ability to go to a higher level depends on doing better at the level you're already at. So this goes across the board, right? How do I add reps? How do I get to the next level? How do I lift heavier weight? How do I get more range? Whenever you're saying, I want to be able to go to a next level with what I'm doing, you have to get better at doing the thing you currently can do. That's where the answers are. The answers aren't in the next step. The answers are in your current step and trying to do it better. So a lot of times, especially in combat conditioning, what ends up happening is people think they've got that step mastered. They try the next step and they got nothing because they don't really have it mastered that much. It's like in the martial arts, you got the new wet behind the ears black belt who thinks they're hot shit. And they're like, I'm the king of the world. And they don't know they're still very much an amateur in many ways because they think they've got it down, but they're unaware of all the things that they can still improve on. So here are the things that I would work on. One is maximize your range of motion. Push up, pull up, these principles apply to both. So all the way up, all the way down. Get as much as you can. Keep tension in the muscles though. All the way up, all the way down. Make sure that you are also working on keeping things from flapping around and all these sorts of things. Keep it narrow, keep it tight, keep it in nice and close. That's what you're also working for. Also, be very mindful of the engagement of your muscles in your torso. That's your biggest muscles. That's where most of your strength comes from. So make sure those shoulders are packed, they're in control. You feel a lot of it in your lats, in your traps, and of course in your chest for if you're doing the pushing movements and stuff. If you feel it all in your arms, good luck. The arm muscles, I know it's like, I don't care if you're the biggest bodybuilder in the world. Arm muscles are relatively weak. You'll never have arm muscles that are strong enough to get to those higher levels of strength that you need to be at if your torso muscles are not engaging very well. So check out isometrics, isometrics playlist, Overcoming Isometrics, the book is down below and stuff. That's the best way to get those muscles woken up, especially in your lats. Lats play a huge fundamental role in both push-ups and pull-ups, and they will make a huge difference in your stability. The more stable you are, the stronger you are, and you're going to be getting to that next level in no time if you add that sort of strength to it. All right, let's see more questions here. Aha. Henry Reed in the house. Always so good to see you, Henry. And as always, folks, if you're new here and you're just joining us, you put the hey Matt there at the beginning. I know that's a question you want me to address specifically. Just wanted to say your push-up micro workout this week killed me. Absolutely. It was hard, man. Those isodynamic workouts are no joke. They're only 60 seconds, but whew. I think I'm just not used to doing sets so close to each other. Do you think it's beneficial to bang out sets close together? Absolutely. But again, what's the stimulus you're trying to create? It always comes down to that question, right? So when I create a lot of these micro workouts, a lot of times the reason why it's so shorter is we just get rid of the fluff. We're just getting rid of the downtime. If you ever follow someone around in a gym and with a stopwatch, which I actually have done this, you're like, dude, you've been here 3 hours and you've only done like actually 15 minutes of work. That actually happened to a guy I knew. 3 hours, 15 minutes of actual exercise. But anyway, I digress. So by minimizing that, what we're doing is we're just speeding up a lot of those processes. Remember, we don't make anything happen in a workout that isn't already happening. We're just speeding up the process. So when we keep our workouts more compacted like that isodynamic workout, you're basically taking the amount of fatigue and the stimulus that you would usually get from longer muscle building workouts, and we're just concentrating it. It's like having watered down light beer. It's like, I got to drink like 8 of these in order to get a buzz on versus a couple shots of hot whiskey, in 30 seconds, you're like, woo, I'm feeling it now. It's the same amount of alcohol. It's just concentrated. It's the same thing with those micro workouts. Same amount of work for the muscle, just concentrated. So it takes less time, but it's very, very focused. So yes, it can be good. Now, when it comes to performance workouts, we want to be a little bit more mindful of those rest periods, in which case something like a grease the groove approach might be a better way to go about it. But the question is, again, what kind of stimulus are you going after? A TUT stimulus, a performance stimulus, or a muscle building, fat burning stimulus? Guessing not the fat burning stimulus on that one. So are you trying to get good at push-ups? Or are you trying to just build muscle and just rail the hell out of your muscles? Most of my workouts are on that genre. Like, let's just take our muscles and just throttle the mother living hell out of them. So in that case, hit them. Go with the shorter right there. Sorry if I'm missing anybody's questions. I know here everybody's got these awesome questions coming in, but I do come through and answer these in the comment section on the RDP YouTube channel afterwards for the next couple of things. So let's get to the next one. Abe Nair. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Hey, Matt, what do I do when my thumb is in pain when I go into the push-up position? Very interesting that your thumb may be getting some pain, because usually what ends up happening is when people do push-ups, they do what I call tenting with their hands, where the inside lifts like this, and there's less force on the inside of the hand because it's going to the outside, which means there's not as much stability in the scaps and the shoulders and the back and all these other things. Compromises a lot of your ability to build up your chest, get the tension into your torso. So the fact that you have pain in your thumb is unusual there. As with all pain, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Get it checked out. Maybe you've got an injury. Maybe you sprained your thumb. I don't know if you've had an injury in your past and maybe something's coming up. But when it comes to pain in just the wrist in general, again, try and claw into the hand, into the floor, like I was talking about earlier with the handstands, and also make sure your shoulders are down. When your shoulders elevate in push-ups, that pushes your elbow forward, which creates a lot more of that flexion or the extension point in the wrist, which can be hard on the wrist. So it could be something with that, but people are built different. Who knows? Maybe you've got a nerve in there that you're just kind of laying on, or something that's just a little kind of funky there. Try moving some of the joints around, see if that helps, and if not, definitely check things around. Damn. Entirely Ernest said, bought it used, so he bought a used body weight master. Well, good find for you, man. Good luck to anybody who can find one of those things. They are, they are hard to find. They are really hard to find. And there's not that many out there either. There was only a few production runs, as far as I know. But good on you, man. Good job. Fresh coat of paint, it'll look good as new. El Chilton. Next question. Can I build big legs with only body weight? Of course you can. Absolutely. The funny thing about building muscle is it doesn't take as much resistance as people often think it does. I mean, yeah, you want some for sure, but you can bring a lot of size to a muscle with modest amounts of resistance. Now, with legs, the biggest problem that people face when it comes to legs is most people have atrociously bad lower body capabilities. They have horrible mobility and horrible stability. In order to get those higher levels of resistance, you're going to need a good amount of stability and mobility, particularly in your hips. And most people have atrocious stability and mobility in the hips. Therefore, they never access the amount of resistance they can truly access with their lower body. And that's why you get a lot of people saying you can't possibly build muscle with with body weight training, just because they need to do things that require less stability and less mobility. And fundamentally, because that's so much easier, they need a lot of weight. And therein lies the myth that you need a lot of weight in order to work your legs, because you're doing easy exercises. The leg press is an easy exercise. That's why you need a lot of weight on it. Doesn't mean you're strong. It means it's a very easy exercise to do. So body weight training is a very difficult exercise, especially leg training. And as a result, it's not going to require much additional weight. So bottom line is, yes, you can for sure build up your legs. I mean, I haven't really touched any weighted calisthenics in God knows how long. I mean, I did some weighted sissy squats the other day, and they were pretty ugly. I put them on my Instagram channel, extra 20 pounds. And I almost didn't post that. I'm like, man, my technique was terrible on those things. But hey, sometimes that's the way it works, sort of thing. Oh man, everybody, my battery is starting to drain real quick again. Let's get to just a couple more questions, and then I will let you all go. Thank you, everybody, so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it. Sincerely, you guys make this Wednesday night special for me every single week. I do really appreciate it, which is why I'm doing something a little special for you this Christmas. Be sure to check out the RDP YouTube channel on December the 25th. Anyway, Jens Peterson, next question. Hey, Matt. I have issues gauging rest times based on customer readiness. Customer readiness. mean client, like you're working out with folks, I'm assuming, maybe. But anyway, any advice on how to gauge it? Well, rest times, there's so many things that depend on rest times. It depends on the exercise, it depends on the intensity, it depends on the duration, depends on your focus, depends on how you're feeling, it depends on your speed, your tempo, how fresh you are, whether or not you want, I mean, there's so many things to it and stuff. So what I would do is I always go with the notion of, if you need to be well rested, give yourself enough time to know that you can tackle the set with a good amount of effort. And you're going to know that just through trial and error. Like, oh, that was too early. I was not quite ready for it. But if, again, you're going after like muscle hypertrophy, endurance sort of thing, then nail it. Go after it. Just dig right on in. It's too much rest isn't going to be too helpful in those regards. The Dude Boy, great question here. Hey, Matt, big fan. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Question is there any value to eliminating or shortening rest times? Oh, another rest time one, in between calisthenics movements. Well, again, it depends on what kind of stimulus do you want to create. Going for endurance, you want to really throttle that muscle, bring it to a high state of fatigue? Yeah, shorten that rest time. If you're saying, I want to be more proficient at this exercise, I want to do it as well as possible, lengthen the rest time, or at least until you're fresh enough to give it your best go. That's kind of the best way to gauge rest times. Depends on what you're going after for it, sort of thing. Oh, good QL here. Niels, can running improve a tight QL, quadratus lumborum? It depends on your technique, my friend. Again, a lot of times the QL is not tight. It's overloaded because the other muscles are not working. So we want to make sure the glutes and the hamstrings are engaged. Usually a lot of times when people are like, I got a tight lower back, you get stronger glutes and hamstrings, and suddenly that lower back just loosens right on up. So I would say the running, yeah, sure, helpful, go for it, but focus a little bit more on some of that bridge work that I was mentioning earlier, and be able to strengthen all those other muscles to get that tension to bleed out of the lower back. All right, a couple more real quick. Oh, God, I hope I don't get cut off here. Hey, Matt, do you think it is essential to do isolation exercises to grow, especially for biceps and triceps? Absolutely not. Not at all necessary whatsoever. Because ultimately, again, fundamentally, muscles are really simple. They contract. If you're doing curls, it looks like that. If you do pull-ups, it looks like that. It looks exactly the same. Your muscles do the exact same thing regardless of what the exercise is and how you're doing it. If there is a difference, you're probably creating it in your mind. You know, a lot of times we experience differences in our workouts because they're psychosomatic. We think there should be a difference. We're concentrating differently. Therefore, we are creating the difference in our mind, and that difference is creating the different signal, and the stimulus is different. But I don't care what you're doing. Like if your elbow's bending, your bicep should feel the same, regardless of what the tool is, what the exercise is, what the workout is. Use your bicep to the same way. So, you know, I mean, it's fun. Sure. I mean, I did some curls today along with some pull-ups, good superset, felt great, but they're not necessary is the bottom line. I'm going with that sort of thing. One more here, Sami Hassan. Hey, brother, best way to work lower back fat or love handles? Same way you lose fat everywhere else in your body. Less going in and more going out. So cut back on the luxury calories. If you got them, go after liquids first. Beer, juice, soda, even protein shakes and stuff like that. I mean, well, I know I get a lot of flack and guff from people going like, you can't tell people that protein shakes are bad for you. I'm like, dude, you know, you go to some of these smoothie bars at local gyms and stuff, it's like 1,200 calories in one of those suckers. Like you gobble one of those things after a workout where you just walked on the treadmill and did some half-hearted curls, and you just basically had a whole nother meal kind of thing. So go after the liquid calories, eat slower, don't eat so that you're super full and stuffed, and be active every single day. But yeah, I mean, you don't go after fat in any one area. It's not something that you can create a specialty exercise for. It's all over kind of area. And always, I know people hate to hear it, but keep in mind, fat distribution in the body is largely a genetic thing too. Like where you have fat, where you tend to store it and stuff is largely just down to genetics. It's like, I always have fat in this one area. Yep. Thank your mom and dad kind of thing. And in that case, you may want to consider plastic surgery, a little bit of liposuction. Although I don't know really much about the success rate on that. I've heard some people say, oh, I got this fat sucked out of this one area, but it came back in a year kind of thing. So maybe it's not something that you can fool with genetics and everything like that. Oh, what the hell? One more. Mike G, always good. Hey, Matt, Thoughts on planks versus lying leg raise for grind style calisthenics workouts? Absolutely. Remember, planks are one of the exercises in grind style calisthenics. Suspensions planks specifically where your feet are suspended, but you could do hands suspended. But yeah, it's fundamentally the same thing. It's flexion chain. You're tensing your abs. So if you feel better working your muscles one way or another, like, oh, I really feel in my abs, or maybe just that's the flavor of the month. Like, I just feel like working with planks today instead of leg raises. Rock on. Again, muscles are contracting. The exercise you do is largely less important in that respect. All right, folks, I'm going to let you folks go before my battery dies. And thank you so much, as always, for coming on. I will be on next week, December the 23rd. I know a lot of people are going to be getting ready, celebrating the holiday and stuff. But next week, 7 p.m., Denver Standard Time, I will be doing the live feed once again. And I'm going to be talking about fundamentals, healthy diet, and weight loss. So don't miss that. I'll put up a title on the Instagram to remind you, as always. But thanks again, everyone, for coming on. And I will talk to you next week. Till then, be fit, live free.